Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Play the intro. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bitcade. This is episode 2 of the full entire thing, but it's episode 2.1 if you're watching the breakout videos. But you're joining us, and we love you for it. My name is Ryan Amor, but joining me are two fellas that love video games as much as I do. I have over here David.
Dave Grau. Hello.
And I have over here Quinn.
Quinn, my last name is too long to be said. So.
Okay, just so you know, I'm gonna put a little bar down here, like down in this area right here.
Okay.
And it's gonna have my name right here. So let's show the name. Okay, there we go. And then over here, we're gonna have David is right about here.
Be in here. Okay. All right.
And then we're gonna have your name. It's just gonna say Quinn right around here. It's just gonna say Quinn. And then I'm just going to take the keyboard and just smash letters.
I like it. It sounds good.
Okay, all right. No one will ever know. You'll be like that guy in Family Guy where they have his name's always different. Have you ever watched it?
No, I didn't know that.
Watch the intro credits. There's a guy that has the same first name, but his last name is always just a random jumbled up letters.
And he's just like a background character.
Calm down now. he's just an actor. No, I think he's like a producer or something. But you'll start to notice it if you watch like the Netflix. If you start watching a whole bunch of them in a row, you'll notice the same name but with a different last name.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah, it's something that you gotta like. You would totally miss if you didn't, because it's usually during the show, like when they're still running the intro credits.
I never have binge watched Family Guy. I always watched it on TV, so if I'm not seeing the intro over and over, that's not something I don't think I would have ever noticed.
Yeah,
and apparently I haven't.
It's a very I could be wrong, but I think it's a different person. I mean, it's the same person.
That'd be funny if it was just actually different people every time, but they all have the same first name.
As the same executive producer.
They just swap one every episode.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bitcade. We talk about video games and news of the nerd and geek culture, and this is going to be quite a doozy. It can either go long, it can either go short. We don't know, because the first topic we're going to talk about is the Nintendo Switch. Right. Did you guys watch the conference?
I missed like the first 15 minutes of it, but
you did watch the Japan one?
Yes, I did watch the one that was that they did stream live. Yeah.
Okay. Did you see highlight videos?
I saw highlight videos. I think I was working that day, in all honesty, but I saw what I wanted to see kind of. Mm-hmm. And skipped out on the parts that didn't interest me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not the best like announcement thing, but I've noticed that that whenever like a company decides to do we're just gonna talk about this stuff, it always isn't really 100%. Like when PlayStation did the whole like PlayStation Pro and PlayStation Slim and stuff, that didn't really hit either. But I don't know if it was just kind of the Japanese feel of it, like that it wasn't. I don't know. There was just something a little off about the whole presentation about it. But like, what were your kind of first impressions?
It did feel a little awkward. It felt like some of the.
Did you see the Splatoon guy with the? I don't know what this was. Like the whole like that was like, and they would like.
I heard something about like a translator or something.
Yeah,
they had to execute him or something. Like they had to like get him off of the stage or whatever.
Yeah, it was the Splatoon guy, I think, and he was going off script, and so you could tell like the guy in the back was like, because like he was missing about like 30 seconds of the guy talking, and then all of a sudden the narrator was like the translator was like da 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 da, and then he would like stumble over words, and I was like, he probably had a script he was reading from, and then the guy that was on stage was probably not reading like what he was being told to read. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty funny though. Mm-hmm. And then in New York, they had the American version of it, of like you could play the Switch.
Was it like the treehouse or something like that?
I don't know if they had. Did they have a treehouse?
I'm not entirely sure. The only video I saw of it was, I don't know if you guys know this YouTuber, but it was Casey Neistat.
I do know who he is. Yeah.
He was invited, and then I just saw like his own experience from it, and he was just playing video games and stuff. And then they had like food and whatever apparently, but it was like, I think only like really important people, obviously for like advertising purposes.
Yeah, you got to get the. What I did notice is there were a lot of YouTubers there.
Yeah, exactly.
There were a lot of like internet personalities that were there to play the console.
Right.
I did see that there's a Nintendo Switch water that is like being sold for like $100 and some odd dollars.
Nintendo Switch water.
Yeah, it's just a water bottle with a Switch on it. I remember when like at sometimes conventions will have a water bottle that has the logo on it, and then they'll give it to you, and it's usually nothing important.
People are just selling it.
Yeah, and
of course they are. Yeah. So with Nintendo stuff, they get it and they put it on eBay.
Exactly. I have a few notes. I have a few notes here.
He has a page.
As a whole, I don't know if it can even show up. There it is. Focus. There you go. But yeah, there's a few things that I kind of just to get this out of the way. Do you know kind of what the Switch is about right now? Like what's coming internally with it? Did you get that kind of information?
You mean I don't remember like all the hardware or specs or anything like that, but I know for sure it's not up to par with the consoles of this gen, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not even as powerful. Like I'm not even saying it's not as powerful as the PS4 Pro or the Slim. It's still less powerful than the base versions
of the One and PS4.
The PS4 and the Xbox One, yeah. Which I kind of honestly anticipated, just because it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's
Nintendo.
They've
given up on the whole we're going to catch up to them.
It's also portable, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you kind of know?
Well, I mean, like I saw that they had that sheet that had these are what all of our specs are, but they didn't give any numbers. It just said this is what's in it, but it didn't specify exactly like how powerful the processor is or the graphics and all that. And it's just like,
well, the good thing is since we don't have to do this live, we can do this. We have all the information as much as we know as of the first week of February. So the Nintendo Switch will have 32 gigabytes of internal storage.
Which is that'll hold like 3 games.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But the good thing is you can expand it with like standard micro, or I think it's micro.
100, it's a
120,
128.
Yeah. And then it has a 6.2 inch touchscreen, which is 1280 by 720. So it's a 720 screen, and it's touchscreen. But I did what I've heard is that there's a bezel around it that some people are finding a little off, but like it's more. The bezel isn't really designed for people when they're playing it, like this. Mm-hmm. It's when they're like this, they're playing it like that. And then the bezel kind of makes sense of why it's there. But it also is not region locked.
Yes, right. I did hear about that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was interested to get your input on that because you love like more of the the Japanese type of RPG stuff. So I was curious. Are you going to be importing a lot more games now if they give those options?
Well, okay, so essentially, I don't want this to happen. But in case of the event that the Switch ends up being the Wii U version 2, I really don't want that to happen. But if it does end up dying like fairly fast, like one of the things that like lets the Vita live, because it's still fine in Japan, like it's still getting a lot of support.
In Japan they love playing portable games. They're all on the train, on the anything like that.
And really good on them is they make a lot of English subtitle games for the Japanese games that aren't coming to America. So all you have to do is import them, and then since the Vita isn't region locked, you can just play them. And so I think that'd be a really great thing for the Switch, because in case if we don't get like a cool game, we can still play it. Not that you might not understand it, unless if they do the same thing as the Vita, which would be awesome. But I'm trying to remember when the last time we had like a region free console from Nintendo was, because I know the handhelds the last time was the DS.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Consoles,
The console.
no.
Yeah, it was GameCube always region locked.
Well, did the GameCube have access to the
It
internet?
didn't. No.
So
So
then region
anything
lock
pretty much
does not
before
matter,
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything before internet, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
because region locking really only prevents you, because you can still like import games, like because the physical.
Yeah.
Region locking primarily just is restrictions on. I believe it's primarily just restrictions on properties that you would get through online services, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, you could still get you could still import Wii U games. And still play them.
So on the Switch, so I guess the Switch technically is the tablet. Like that is the Switch. That is what they are going for.
Mm-hmm.
So on the top part, you got the power button. You got a game slot for the little cartridge thing, which apparently the people are comparing them. The cases look like PSP cases. They look like the old PSP case. That's how big they are, which makes sense because you're kind of like, I don't know how big this even needs to be if it's just a little card.
Interesting. I didn't know how big they were.
Yeah, it's like a white case.
So they're like that.
A little bit bigger. They're about like this rectangle type of look to them. And then there's a 3.5 audio jack on them, which makes sense too. Because they didn't talk about that, in which you kind of have to think, okay, well, am I gonna have to do the whole Bluetooth thing? No. You do not have to do the Bluetooth thing.
Yeah.
So, but that was another thing. I don't know if they're running on Bluetooth.
I don't believe so, because I did see the image of the where they showed the image of all the product you can get for it, and there's a set of Nintendo brand headphones that you can get to plug into
from
it.
Nintendo.
I believe it is Nintendo. I believe.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It was just an image. It was just an image. That's all it was.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is all speculation at this point, and most of what I have here is mainly first party of what they've talked about at the conference. So the next big giant announcement was the Joy-Con controllers. Mm-hmm. They gave it a name.
I don't.
You have these little wands now. I mean, they're not really wands because when I think of the wands, I always think of the PlayStation 3 little things. I think of the wands, but these things are not very big. And what I've heard from people that have seen it and that have gotten to play with it, it is about the size of what you think it is. Like when you look at it in that trailer and you go, "That looks really small." That's actually how big it is.
Yeah, they're like that.
Yeah, so what I've noticed when I looked at them, they were designed to be the same for both, for the different modes that you can. So if I handed you a controller, it's the same exact button layout. May have A, B, X, and Y. That's what they're. Right. Yeah.
A, B, X, Y.
But yours might have the D-pad, but they're the same.
But it acts as A, B, X,
Y.
Y.
Yeah. So, did you get to say what was your kind of first impression when you saw the Joy-Con controllers?
I didn't like the name.
You don't like
the name annoys me.
You don't like the little hyphen in there? Joy.
No.
Con?
Can't they just call it a controller or something?
Like Xboxes. Well, Xbox controllers are called Xbox One controllers, and then you got DualShock being the name of the PlayStation controllers.
I don't know. I'm just worried because my hands are big.
Yeah.
I have big hands. I cannot play the DS without getting cramps.
When I play the old DS, my fingers touch.
Yeah, I can't do it, and so that's my big concern with it is for it being comfortable for myself, but I don't know. They're so small, especially if you're gonna play them sideways. We had the Nintendo vendor came in yesterday, and I was talking with about it. And he has hands-on experience playing with it. Mm-hmm. And he said, the controllers are as big as they look. But he said that they were comfortable for him.
That is what I've heard too. I've heard they're very they feel nice.
From what I've heard, the people have been saying they're they do look small or whatever, but deceptively they're comfortable to hold in the hand, which is weird. So I don't know how that's gonna be until
maybe it's that weight from the HD Rumble, which is something that they really liked to talk about.
Here's the thing, though, is I asked him about that. I asked him, all right, so what's the deal with this HD Rumble? Because it sounds ridiculous. And he actually said he's impressed with it. He said that...
Yeah, did you hear about this?
I heard, like, everyone's been kind of, like, memeing it up, so I have no...
Okay,
like, whenever...
Go ahead, give your thing. I'll talk about what I wrote down here.
So what he was saying is he says it's actually pretty unique, and it's cooler than it sounds. Okay, I will say the HD, like, it sounds tacky and cheesy, HD Rumble, but he says
Nintendo's not really good on their naming.
No.
Ergo the Switch. So,
but he's saying that, there's enough Rumble features in there to where he said he was playing one game to where the game is you just hold the controller like basically like this, and it simulates a box full of dice. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of do this, and you try and guess how many dice are in it. And you can accurately guess just by the dice will, like, the Rumble will move around, and you can even tell, like, if the dice would hit each other and bounce off. Like he said, you could feel all that.
I didn't hear about this game.
What the heck?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So like when they announced the HD Rumble feature, they showed like a glass of water with ice cubes in it, and you can like actually feel the difference between one ice cube, 2 ice cubes, and 3 ice cubes, and then you could actually rattle it around as if it was, and it actually makes sound.
And he was saying you could actually feel the dice. Like he said, you could actually accurately guess how many dice were in it, and you could feel them like bouncing off of each other as if they were as if it was actual physical.
They've been
dice.
Working on that Rumble technology apparently.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
So he was like, just don't let the name fool you. Like it's pretty cool. He said it was pretty legit. And I'm like, all right, I'll
Now both of them have a little bit of both controllers have features that the other one doesn't. Just one. I guess 2 technically. So the right one actually has an amiibo reader, so amiibos get to stay around.
Thank God.
Which is like that makes a lot of sense.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, apparently the what I got from the presentation was that the joystick on the right controller reads the amiibo. So there's a sensor in there that actually reads it.
The joystick itself?
Yeah.
Oh.
You just put it on top of it.
Interesting.
That's what I saw. That's what my impression of it was. And then on the left side has a share button, but it's not like PlayStation's where it's just a little snapshot. So you're kind of like,
it just takes a picture?
Yeah, I guess that's...
It doesn't do like a video or like the Xbox does or anything like that?
That's what I heard. I thought it was both, but then I've heard that it's just the picture. So at this point, anything is possible.
We'll see.
I mean, you got a couple months.
Actually, almost a month.
Yeah. Well, at this point, next month.
Yeah,
so
next month.
Wow.
Let's see. What else do they have? The sticks can be clicked in now. That's a thing. I mean, I've never had a Nintendo console that could do that. So.
Oh, you mean like sort of like how the
L3,
R3?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Another
moving on up.
A major thing that was a big concern was that battery. What the heck and how long does it last? Now, from Nintendo's website, they say it lasts about 2.5 to 6 hours. So that's kind of a big window, and it's why
a big window.
Why is there that much of a gap? Apparently, it relies on the game. So if the game is pulling a lot of power, then the system obviously will get sucked down a little more than usual. But from their website, they say that Zelda can play 3 hours on a single charge.
Okay.
So
I've also heard that on the device itself, there's a USB-C port.
What was it?
A USB-C.
Oh, the
charging.
Is that the big guy, or is that mini USB, or
this is the one that not many devices use.
Is this the one that PlayStation used to have, and then they got rid of that to put the Vita?
No.
Is that USB-C?
I have no idea.
What? I can show you at work, but I've heard it's gonna have a USB-C port, which means to tell me that you should hopefully be able to like plug it into an outlet, possibly. Again, this is just speculation. I'm hoping that you could just like plug it into that port, plug it into a wall, like, and then it's like.
Oh, from the USB-C, not from like this. Well, that might be the charging part of it.
Possibly. I mean, if it's like on the bottom and you put it in the docking station, and
yeah,
it
if
charges
that's
through
the
there.
USB.
But then I'm also hoping then if I could just get like USB-C cable, because those are common.
Yeah,
now
you just get a really long one.
Yeah, and then just plug it into an outlet, and then I can just sit there like on.
Because you can play in game. They did kindly state that in several ways. So
I was hoping that or if I had it on the go, I could plug it into like a portable battery charger, things like that to give a little extra juice. That's kind of what I was hoping for when I saw that when I heard that there was a USB-C charger. I was like, okay, good. So that means I could, when I get mine, I could plug it into my outlet next to the couch and
just. Did you already pre-order a Switch?
Yes.
Okay. He did.
I did. Yes. Yeah. The day after the live stream, I went down and pre-ordered, and there was a line.
And you got Breath of the Wild 2 for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only...
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. I have a list of all the games.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay, sweet.
How do you feel on this battery life?
The battery life?
Yeah. As a advid, yeah, what's the word for it?
Advid?
Yeah, 3DS player.
Handheld.
Yeah, handheld
3DS
player.
So,
what are you thinking about this? This is not the 3DS battery life.
Exactly. I think honestly because I think of this still as a console.
Nintendo gladly says it's a console, so
I think it's fine because if I'm going to be playing like Breath of the Wild, something like that game or whatever, and I'm taking that on the go portably, like playing it in my backyard or something, right?
That's a little less farther distance as I'm assuming they wanted.
Okay, well, fine. I'm going to like Kentucky or something like that.
Okay.
I'm on a plane ride to Kentucky,
okay.
and I'm playing
on those plane rides
Switch,
to Kentucky.
yeah, and I'm like
Probably
enjoying.
wouldn't even last the flight.
Well, if you fly Alaska, you can plug it into the. We're not sponsored by Alaska. But yeah, some planes have that little outlet thing, which goes into their ways to play. They had this whole little section about their ways that they play. So you got the TV mode, which is the standard. You can put that little thing in the dock. You plug into your Pro controller, and you go to town. The second one is tabletop mode. And that's when
you like set it down.
Yeah, it has a little kickstand. I do like the kickstand. I do like how that was added. I don't have to buy a stupid case for it. I can have boom right there. It's like the Surface. I can walk away from it.
Yeah.
And then the third one is handheld mode, which is the obvious. You have the Joy-Cons on the side, and then you're playing it just like normal.
Yeah, I think I personally would have the biggest issue playing with the handheld mode just because I feel like I'm gonna get the same cramping that I got with the 3DS. Which is why I just couldn't play it for. If I played it for maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, I would have to stop.
Would you have a problem with the tabletop mode, or because
probably not? Probably not. And I don't see myself having an issue with the controller little thing that it can snap into.
Like the Pro controller.
Yeah, the Pro controller. I don't think I'll have an issue with that. But when it comes to having to hold it like this.
Yeah. It is bigger, so it's I don't know how big it is compared to like the Wii U tablet though.
I believe.
He says so. The Nintendo rep said it is smaller than the Wii U tablet.
Okay.
And he said it weighs about the same as a 3DS XL.
Yes.
In handheld.
It's not bad.
It says a little bit more, but it's fairly comparable.
I did hear about how thin. It's shockingly thin to what it was. And you can play up to 8 players. They showed the whole as we saw the first trailer that we got of the Switch at, I would think, was it E3? Was it at E3? Or was it somewhere between that time?
It was between E3 and this thing. Because they just threw it out. That was the one where they had the guy playing Skyrim on the plane. And
they showed the Splatoon people where they were all just playing with each other, and then they walk into that that MLG esport arena, and they have all their Switches lined up, and they start playing Splatoon. Go to figure, it was Splatoon 2, so there was that. But then so you can play up to 8 players through Wi-Fi. Now I don't know if it's like the Wi-Fi that obviously we're used to, where we connect and do all that jazz, or if it's Wi-Fi like kind of how GoPro uses, where it's just a wireless frequency. They actually use just the term Wi-Fi as I can play with you, and I don't have to be connected to the internet with it.
It's like similar to Bluetooth.
Yeah,
but it is not Bluetooth.
Yeah, and 3DS is not uncommon that happens. Obviously, there was the whole download things that DSs used to do, where if you wanted to play like Mario Brothers, you can. Oh, I don't own that game. Oh, well, I'll just send it to you, and you can play the little demo thing that it will send you. That I kind of liked. I liked how Nintendo did that. They haven't confirmed like that was what they were going for, so they didn't explain that very well, and I haven't been able to play with the console yet, and so online was a big deal too, because now they're going to have a paid service. Yes. This is the first time Nintendo's stepping into we're going to challenge PSN and Xbox Live.
Yeah.
They're going to do it free for a while, and then in the fall they're going to
right for the holiday season.
Exactly,
right?
And that's probably smart. Yeah. Is they're going to kick it up to their subscriber situation.
Base,
yeah. The one thing I'm very confused about is the whole smartphone connectivity thing. They even talk about it on their website about how like this you can connect with your friends with your phone app, and you're kind of like, I have to use my phone to talk to my friends.
Well, if I remember right, I think I heard
set up days and dates to play with people or something like that.
Well, I think I remember hearing Reggie say that the reason why they were doing it through the phone was it's more convenient to use voice communication through the phone when you're on the go.
That makes sense.
If you're not at home and you're not,
if you're playing Splatoon and you're trying to talk to your teammates, obviously you're going to need some sort of device to do that.
Yeah.
I guess I can see it.
I understand it from that point of view. Like I get that, but like if I'm at home, I would like to be able to just plug a headset into the device. Yeah. Hopefully into that 3.5. But that doesn't seem
like that's an option right now.
Well, they have that 3.5.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's
a really far. Is it going to be like the NES Classic where I have to have a dongle that
you know what? If that's what I'll have to do,
you'll buy that $20 dongle. Dongles. See, Apple's going away from the dongles. Nintendo wants you to have all the dongles. They did say monthly game download, which I was shocked about. But
you can only keep it.
Yeah, there is a catch to that.
Nintendo's Nintendoing this one.
Yeah. You get an NES game and an SNES game every
two?
month. Or no, it's either
or.
Yeah. But that's kind of the thing is like, so you're gonna. I understand where they're like, we're going to give you Mario Kart, and here's 30 days to play the game.
Yeah.
Everyone has the game. Servers get crowded. Play the game. Have fun. What I don't understand is why can't I play Super Mario Brothers for longer than 30 days?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's odd that it's like I think it's something that they're going to change, or they're going to have to make this service more appealing, because for me Nintendo's always is, and I'm glad that they're staying with the more local multiplayer.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of consoles
really
like couch play. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I like that too.
I've never really thought of Nintendo. Oh, I'm going to get my online multiplayer for Nintendo.
I'm going to go hard in Call of Duty on Nintendo.
Yeah. So it's like I probably won't be getting the services unless it changes and it's more close to what Xbox Live and the PSN Plus are giving you right now. Because I think to get one free 20, 30-year-old game for a month, and then it's gone.
And it has no connectivity to an online thing.
Yeah, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
I'll keep my whatever $50-$60 you're going to charge me.
Now, the bummer part would be if they cap out that local play too, where I can't play with you unless I have that subscription.
I think that would be a huge mistake. The backlash would be immense, because that's what Nintendo is known for. That's what they've always pushed. Even though Xbox used to do that, they don't really do it anymore. Like what was like the last split screen game that you've played on a non-Nintendo class?
Gears of War.
Gears of War.
Yeah. The Gears 4, but it's a very uncommon thing at that situation. And then, the Lego games. But that's why, I get what you're saying.
Like at work, people are always like, "Yeah, I want to get my girlfriend into games, but she doesn't have an account, and like I want to play. I got an Xbox, and I want to play something with her." I'm like,
Yeah, they
like,
used to do the whole sign in as a guest thing, but now that doesn't work all the
yeah,
time.
and so that's why I'm excited that this Switch is keeping that, and I hope it doesn't require, any sort of online connection to be able to do that. Because
so Quinn, I'm going to ask you about these. You got the subscribers and non-subscribers.
Okay.
Here's the list of what you get during the fall. Online gameplay for subscribers, free and through fall 2017. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go subscribers, non-subscribers. Online lobby and voice chat through the app. Not available. Monthly game download, not available. Exclusive deals, not available. Access to the Nintendo eShop, also access to the Nintendo eShop. Register and manage friends, same thing. Share screenshots, social media, same thing. Access to Switch, access to Nintendo Switch parental controls app, as well as the other ones. So the only three things you don't get as a non-subscriber is online lobby and voice chat through the app, monthly game download, and exclusive deals.
Okay.
Does that seem fair? That seemed like a good step forward for like, oh, I feel like if I was a subscriber, I'm getting good content. Or do you feel like
I feel
there
as
should
a
be something?
subscriber, I would want more,
Mm-hmm.
because, well, I get like 30 days, right? You get to keep the game, blah blah blah, but then it goes away, which is kind of like annoying because like with PlayStation or even like Xbox, don't you get like a free game or whatever?
Well, with Xbox, you keep the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
You don't even have to be gold after that.
Yeah.
You can just not be a gold and you still have all those free
Exactly.
games for
So
gold.
I think that's kind of like
3 a month. It's 3 a month, right?
You
get two Xbox-
You get
two
two Xbox
Xbox
Ones
One.
and two Xbox 360 games now. So you get 4.
wow.
Yeah. Xbox is really pushing out the whole backwards compatibility thing. So
That's true. Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't cost them a lot. It's just
I don't think it does.
register it.
It's just, yeah, I think that's pretty much all it is. Oh, push a button.
Yeah. So you feel as a subscriber, you feel
Also, depending on how like, yeah, I guess I wouldn't feel like too bad if it were like insanely cheap. Okay, like if it were like.
So what's a price point? If I went to GameStop and I'm buying a 3-month card,
Okay.
what's your right now? I think it's $25 for an Xbox Gold 3-month, right? Like $24.99 or something like that.
$24.99 for 3 months.
And
yes.
then for PSN,
it's
I think
like
it's the same price.
It's the same price now.
Do you feel like this is a $24.99 card that I'm
No,
walking?
no.
Okay, how much is this?
I was gonna say maybe like 15 or something
$15?
like that. Yeah.
I don't think that's unfair.
I would, if it's over 10, I probably wouldn't do it. I don't think I would pay more than $30 for that kind of services a year. I don't think it's just not there.
So in the box, so if we had a Switch in front of us, unopened, this is what we're getting. We're getting the left and right Joy-Con controllers. You get a Joy-Con wrist strap, which the wrist straps are essentially kind of like the nunchuck.
Yeah.
You kind of put it on there, and then it slides on, and it gives you like more of a actually gives you a
More length.
thicker
Yeah, he was
left
saying-
and right bumper.
Yeah, he was saying the Nintendo rep, who was saying if you put those on and you've got like bigger hands like myself, it makes the controller a little bit more comfortable.
Okay.
Okay.
You get the Switch dock. You get Joy-Con grip, which is a
The
controller
little thing you slide it into,
Yeah.
it makes it look like a pro controller.
And an AC adapter, an HDMI cable, and this wonderful little package with no game. There's no game that comes with it. Is 29,980 yen, which equals out to about $299. $300 box. You don't get a game with it. The Wii came with a game. The 64 came with a game. The
Wii came with just Wii Sports, but I guess
yeah.
it's technically a game.
Did
Yeah.
the Wii U come with the game, or when it was?
I
on
think
release?
they were trying to
Did
get
it?
out.
Oh, it came. I think it came with like the Wii U Land or something. like
something
that.
like that. Yeah, some sort of party game.
I expected it to be this price, but it does suck that it doesn't come with the game, because I remember people were saying 1-2 punch or whatever, like 1-2.
There's 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, 1-2 switch.
Yeah.
Is not worth full retail price, because I think it's being sold for full retail, and it should have been bundled with the Switch.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then also people And I agree, this is really expensive. Like the Pro controller for the Switch.
We'll get into prices.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into prices.
We're
I
into
got
prices?
them all down.
Okay.
I got them all down here.
Okay,
all
this
from
is the part.
Nintendo's website too.
Yeah, this is the part that is like concerning for me is the prices.
Yeah. So we got $299 for the box. You get all that jazz. If you want to be fancy, you want to get the Pro controller, $69.99.
Yeah.
$70 controller. That is, if you want a $70 controller, you can get a customized Xbox One controller for $70.
Yeah.
That's got to change.
If you want your gamer tag on it, $80.
Yeah.
That's got to change. Like, I already think that, like, PS4 and Xbox One controllers are really expensive.
Yeah. Like the official, like, the official ones. Yeah, not third party.
Yeah, not
My
third party.
BB-8 ones don't count. A pair of Joy-Con controllers are $79.99. $80 freaking dollars for those little two pairs, which you can get in 3 fashionable colors: black, neon blue, and neon red.
I'm digging the neon.
I thought the blue and the red though come together.
There are packs like that.
Oh, okay,
so you get the black, the blue and red, blue, or red.
Oh, yeah,
so,
gotcha.
or neon is what they like to call it. And if you just want one Joy-Con, $49.99. Just one.
Who would want just one?
Well, if you lose them, or one of them breaks, not probably an uncommon thing. Man. The Nintendo dock set. So what I've kind of understand is you can actually use 2 Nintendo Switches together, so you can play together. I don't know how, like in the same game of what I've seen with like 1-2 Switch and all this other stuff. But anyway, if you wanted another dock, for some reason it wasn't working.
Well, you can also hook it up to another TV. So let's say I'm in the living room and I want to go play it on the bedroom and on the TV bedroom. You can pop it into there.
That's true. If you want to spend $90, $89.99 is how much another dock is
for just the dock.
For just the dock.
Oh my god!
But the dock comes with a dock, an AC adapter, and an HDMI cable, and then the Joy-Con wheel, which looks like the Mario Kart Wii, is $14.99. Which is the only reasonably priced item on
okay,
this
you
list.
got everything that's like, I think everything else was 70 or above, and then
just the cheapest thing other than the wheel was the Joy-Con one by itself was $49.99.
Okay.
But I think the peripheral for the wheel, I think that's okay. But then again, like when I play Mario Kart, I never use the wheel. I don't know anybody who plays Mario.
But you get 2. You get 2 of them.
You get 2
in the box.
So they're only $7.
Yeah,
they're $7
for $14.99. 2 of them. Can
That's
come
the
in
biggest
box
steal.
For you.
But here's
it's a steal.
But like,
on whose account?
But like, here's the thing though. The thing that I have with those peripherals with the wheel is like, who uses those?
My grandma used to.
I mean, because it's like I don't know anybody who plays like Mario Kart if they're playing it against somebody.
A lot of people don't like them. You're
gonna tell me you're gonna play Mario Kart like this versus using the joystick?
I've heard and I don't know. I don't play Mario Kart this way, but I know whenever I get a chance to play Mario Kart on the Wii, I want a controller or I want to do something. I do not like doing this.
No.
This seems dumb to me.
Yeah.
but
it's too inconsistent for me.
Yeah.
I gotta have that precision control.
Now, if you want to play this magical device, here are a few places you can play. You can play it in Toronto, DC, PAX South, which just happened, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, PAX East, and South by Southwest. Those are the locations you can play before the console actually comes out. So, obviously, they'll probably be at PAX West and a few other places.
Are those like events?
Yeah, those are the events that will be happening soon. But Toronto, DC, PAX South, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, PAX East, and South by Southwest. If you want to see the full list, you can go to Nintendo's website and they will tell you the whole thing on how to be there.
I'm surprised there's nothing up in like Seattle where they have like a corporate office.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they didn't choose somewhere over here, but yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
like they chose to be in New York. That's what I've kind of noticed with Nintendo is they don't really talk about them being from over here. They talk about we're gonna have a thing over in New York, or we're doing something in San Francisco, or we're.
I can understand where they're going. I get it, but it's like, well, why leave the Northwest out?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Here's a few games coming out. If you want to, we're kind of running a little short on time, but we got 1-2 Switch, ARMS, Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, Dragon Quest 10 and 11, Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, Shin Megami Tensei, Project Octopath Traveler, Project Sonic, which was they didn't have an actual Sonic name.
Just the name.
Skyrim, FIFA 17, Mario Kart, and Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Of those that are launch games that I have here is 1-2 Switch, Legend of Zelda. I guess Dragon Quest is going to be.
I don't think so.
It might be
Dragon
because
Quest Heroes.
it already came out on PS4, and this one is
did
just going to be pretty much for the Switch, and then added characters, like new characters, like the DLC characters for free or something like that.
So, did you guys see any of the games that kind of stood out to you? ARMS was definitely one they showed that this is the HD Rumble like demo thing.
Well,
that's really showing off the HD Rumble.
The rep that I talked to said that ARMS was actually pretty fun.
Oh, I've heard it. And it's not just a Wii boxing on steroids.
Oh, see, I played the crap out of Wii boxing.
Oh, I did too.
I was like passing on the little chart. I was like way.
Oh, you're a pro.
Chart.
You're a pro.
Yeah, I was way up there.
This guy.
I gotta say, like, as far as the launch goes for the Switch, a lot of people don't think it's the strongest console launch in the world. Blah blah blah.
I don't think it's ever this strong.
I don't think a lot of consoles have strong launches. To be honest,
everybody I know who's buying it day one is just buying a Zelda box.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is like, could we have had this console if it right now, if it wasn't for Zelda? Like, if Zelda had come out, like for the Wii U, if they were just to go, here's it for the Wii U, the what they would have called like Project NX's version comes out in the fall with Mario Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that people would have bought the game console at this time
without Zelda?
Yeah.
I think people would buy no.
No, if there wasn't Zelda as a launch title for this console, if it was just, I don't know what other launch title game would have been, but if it was just
1-2 Switch,
if it was just straight
why
up,
that game
if it was
isn't
just
a part of it, I don't.
If it was just straight up 1-2 Switch, everyone would have like probably got like Molotovs or something and like thrown it at Nintendo headquarters because they would have been so upset. They would have been like, "What are you thinking? Where's our games?" or something like that.
Well, yeah, because there's only 5 games, 5 launch titles.
There's a few, but there's also games that are dated as March. So there's no day for them, but there's no
so it's launch window.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's. I don't think without Zelda, I don't think coming with it on March 3rd, it wouldn't sell.
Okay, of course, they did it with Zelda.
I mean, yes, there would be people who would buy it just because it's Nintendo.
Yeah,
you know.
So as final things, because this topic obviously went a little bit longer, but it's fine. This is kind of the topic of the whole episode. What are your impressions? If you had $300 to blow, if Nintendo was
already blue,
yeah. Well, we'll get to that part. If you had $300 already saved up, no matter what, you had a choice. Would you buy the Switch now, or would you go? I think I'm gonna wait till the fall, when everything's all done.
Yeah,
like Mario Odyssey comes out in the fall and winter.
Yeah.
You got Zelda already out. Splatoon 2 would already be out.
Yeah.
I think it was said for this year.
I think so.
Yeah, I think everything that was said, it was coming out this year.
The rep I talked to, he's played it. He's played Splatoon.
Oh, okay. So then there you go. But so all the games pretty much are done, dealt with. Obviously, a few games will come out in between too, because E3 we'll talk about it. But $299, would you buy it?
Would I buy this at launch? No, absolutely not. I think I love the games confirmed for it so far. Like, I think I'm really hyped for a lot of the games that are going to be released, and
I am too, actually.
But I don't think I would buy it just yet at launch. I mean, I'm not saying the console is like overpriced or anything, but it's just the fact right now games are not good. Like, there aren't a lot of games out. I mean, Zelda's going to be great, of course. Like, there's no way that game's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. But they need to fix their prices on like almost everything else besides.
I think the console prices are okay.
Yeah.
I think the accessories are
at least. So you don't want to spend $80 on a new.
I think they're $15 to $20 just too much.
It's just way too expensive for accessories.
So, as somebody that has bought the console,
Yes.
you bought it specifically because of Zelda, which
So
I'll get to my point of view. But how do you feel now buying it? You know the games that are coming out. Obviously, some stuff has been roughed out since the launch or the announcement. How are you feeling?
So, me personally, I'm excited more for the future than the launch. My girlfriend is the one that is the big Zelda fan. This is going to, this is her console. We're getting it for her. And so she's going to be playing Zelda. I actually am looking forward to, I want to check out that new, the Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I think that looks interesting.
Did you play Xenoblade?
I played a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't play the first one, but getting it, like, I haven't owned
There'll probably be some bundle.
I haven't owned a Nintendo.
Buy Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and get the first one for free.
Yeah, just a disclaimer.
Awesome.
Actually, for $79 more.
No.
Yeah, just a disclaimer for the viewers. I have not personally owned a Nintendo console since the 64. So there's a huge window of games that I just haven't played for Nintendo. So I
actually think this will be a good one.
I haven't played, like the first one. But I was interested in it. Like I remember seeing, remember seeing it at work and seeing the ads for it. And I was like, oh, this looks neat. So like I'm excited. I'll have a chance to play the second one. And then I saw the little video shorts for that Final Fantasy game. That's like the side.
Oh,
like
the
2D,
Octopath.
3D. Was that what that was called?
Project Octopath Traveler is what it's called.
I
thought it looks interesting too.
It looks like an old,
absolutely terrible name.
no, it's an awful name, but like it's like an old like 16-bit Final Fantasy game that it looks like it has like a Paper Mario feel to it. And I'm like, yeah.
Not gonna lie, I actually looked at it. I'm like, this looks beautiful.
I saw it. I'm like, I'm all down for that.
From what my friend said, it's supposed to be like a console version of Bravely Default or something. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not because I'm assuming that's not gonna Project Octopath Traveler is not gonna be its name. It's gonna be
yeah, it's a working name. But oh my goodness.
Because if that were its name, I'd be like, oh my god.
Oh, POT. That's right.
You guys playing Project Octopath Traveler?
but here's what we have pre-ordered so far. We pre-ordered the console, not with the neon controllers. I think those look ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So just
black.
as a thing back to the whole box thing, you can get it in the black edition or you can get it in the left neon, right neon blue. So
yeah, something like that.
Red and blue. That's another.
Yeah,
bundle.
we just went with the standard, and then so we got that. We got Breath of the Wild, and then we also did bought the one accessory for charging the Joy-Cons, so that way we don't have to put it on the console itself. It's just this little charging station.
Oh, it also charges in the controller.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay.
it was more of, so that way we can just charge it so that, well, it doesn't charge in the controller that it comes with.
Yes, that's true. Because it uses the control. It's just a plastic.
Yeah,
thing,
it's just a plastic thing to hold it.
Yeah, the Pro controller.
The Pro
charges
controller
it.
can charge it. Yeah.
That's why it's $79 or whatever.
So we got the yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So when we found that out, that was like, all right, we'll get the little charging station. So then that way, we don't have to always have it connected to the screen to charge it.
Yeah, I think. Was there any closing thing?
Yeah, so for the launch, we're spending about what we would for like when the
Xbox One
for the
launch?
Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 launch. We're spending about $400. So.
Yeah, see, I know Nintendo is keen on the whole. Well, we're gonna put as little stuff in the box as possible in order for you to buy your console, because they do that with the 3DS. They're like, buy the 3DS, but guess what? Doesn't come with a charger.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
we
3DS.
expect you to have a charger. It's like. But what if I'm buying this for a friend that never had a 3DS before? It's like but it's to keep it underneath the price of what? How much is it? $200 for a
It's
console?
$199.99.
Yeah, if you can find
for
one
the new.
Yeah, but like
For the
new, the new 3DS. But I think it's just a bummer that the Nintendo has this whole like look at we're gonna do. As little as possible in the box so that we can sell it for this price, but you're gonna need this, 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 and this in order to complete the whole bundle.
Yeah, because you're really
it forces you into having to buy it.
Yeah, because even though you're buying, your 3DS for under $200, you're still paying over $200 because you got to get that charger, and then it doesn't come with a game.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't come with a
game. Yeah, that's the biggest complaints when I sell people one at work is like I always tell them it doesn't come with a game and there's no charger, so you're already spending.
Yeah, that's a 3DS. Right there.
Yeah, for a 3DS, and so it's like you're already just to get it going, you're already spending $250.
Yeah, my final take on it is as a mainly Xbox person / PC, I look at this as I think that the games that they have talked about, I think Mario Odyssey looks cool. Not really. I'm a little off about the whole real people thing.
Yeah,
that was
a
little
weird. It looks weird,
but
but
he's finally in like Brooklyn now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no one looks like Mario, so it's like. Is Mario a deformed freak now?
But here's the joke, though. It's because it's how he gets into the world, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know the whole.
It just reminds me so much of the Sonic game when they introduced real people.
Yeah,
Sonic 06. We don't.
Yeah. Oh, he'll have a human girlfriend, and believe me. As a person that's not really into the whole Zelda thing, I think that just missed my whole look at stuff. I've never actually sat down and played a Zelda game other than the handheld versions of it, and even then I'm kind of like, these are cool, these are great. I'm not going to say that they're not, and I respect that they have this long lineage of it. It missed me, and and Nintendo's all about nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit me right. At that point, I feel like if I played probably a modern one, I think they have beautiful art styles, especially Wind Waker. I love Wind Waker's art, the watercolors and everything like that. Oh, did you personally work on that?
No, but a lot of people I know
don't like them
because
they
played
don't like Toon Link
when Wind Waker first came out.
I remember the backlash. Yeah, the backlash. Everybody hated it. Everybody hated how it looked.
The thing is, when I always I hate to drag on the video.
It's a little bit,
just real quick. The thing I always look for when I play video games, which is why I got interested in Overwatch, is I like playing games that I think are going to be timeless, that will hold up. And I know games that are extremely stylized will always look good in the future.
That's why the Pixar movies last so long.
Exactly.
They look great.
Because I knew Overwatch was really stylized, and I knew TF2 was stylized so much that even though TF2 is so old now, it still looks fine. And then Overwatch, I think, is going to look good in the future. Wind Waker HD... and even a regular Wind Waker, they look so good. Whereas I think Twilight Princess HD is gonna, as time goes on and on, it's just gonna look more and more dated because it's set more in the realistic Zelda style. Yeah.
There's the whole book that has all the timelines and stuff.
I will end the Switch thing just by saying, if Zelda was not a launch title, we would probably not be getting a Switch till Zelda was available.
If it had came out on Wii U and then had come out later, you wouldn't have bought it on Wii U.
Probably not. We would wait for the Switch because
getting on Wii U would not be good.
Yeah,
I've seen the difference. IGN had the whole difference.
Yeah, no, we probably would get the Switch to get it because knowing Nintendo, they're gonna probably re-release all the other Zelda games. So.
All right. So final case, we wouldn't buy it at launch. But if you're a Zelda fan, go right ahead.
It's a Zelda box.
Yeah, go ahead. Go get the game. If you want to play Zelda, go ahead and get it. It's definitely the best way to play it. But anyway, we're moving on.
Moving on up.
The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be our first game experience. Quinn, you thought of this idea, so I'm going to let you take the reins of this one.
Okay, so I'm going to start off first what my first video game experience was. So I'm the youngest out of all the
He's the baby.
Yeah.
I'm only 19 years old, so people...
I turned 22 next month.
A lot of people might see me as the young punk or whatever.
As the youngling.
He's not much younger than you.
19 and 22, that's a kind of a big gap.
I'm 31.
Yeah, well.
31.
There's a lot of... That's why I like this panel, because we have all the different experiences of video games.
Yes.
But continue.
So my first video game experience, I wasn't quite sure. I would assume my first video game experience, because my stepdad was really into video games. My mom wasn't really into video games. She liked books a lot and television shows, and I like television shows too. Like, I mean, if you said, "Oh, I don't like TV," that'd be very questionable. So I would always go. I think this would probably be my first video game experience, but this isn't like for sure. I think with like my first experience would probably be at like have you guys been to Old School Pizzeria before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know how they have like arcade machines,
that little
sit
down tabletop thing. Yeah, I want to have one of those.
I think that might be because I would always go down there to eat. But my first console that I remember clearly having and like video games was actually, my mom didn't expect me to like video games at all. The reason she bought it was because we were going to New York for a week or so in the summer, and she was like, I don't know how he's gonna handle me on the flight. Like, I don't want him crying the whole time and like making a big fuss and kicking people's back of their seats or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was in my mom's car, and she worked at Fred Meyer at the time, and she was like, all right, Quinn, I'm gonna stay here. I'm going to get you a present. Just tell me what color you want. And she had a magazine in the car. And so when I was looking at the magazine, on the first cover, I saw teddy bears. So I was like, I'm going to get a teddy bear and I can choose whatever color I want. That's cool. And my favorite color is red. So I was like, I want a red one. And she was like, okay. I was like, man, I'm going to get a red teddy bear today. It's going to be the coolest thing in the world. And she comes back.
How old are you at this point?
I am 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was first grade. I'm pretty sure it was first grade, or the summer before first grade, or the summer leading to second grade. Okay. I'm not entirely certain which one it is. And she comes back, and she's like, "All right, here you go." And I like if I was not potty trained at that point in time, let me tell you. Oh my gosh. So I got a red Game Boy Advance. And my mom knew that back then I was the king of games. And by that, I mean I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! So much. Jeez. And she got me Yu-Gi-Oh! World Tournament Edition 2003 or whatever. So I would be 6. So yeah, it would have been the summer before first grade.
I was in 3rd grade at that point.
And
when? 2006?
2003.
I was a senior in high school.
So back when I was a little baby Quinn.
Baby Quinn.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I remember she drove me home and we were unpacking it. And this was my first like own handheld sort of like console sort of thing. So I was just figuring out like, oh, so at this point in time, I think, at least for me, I didn't quite understand rechargeable because I knew consoles, you plug them in. But at this time, like handhelds were mostly, you get batteries.
The AA's, yeah.
You throw them out.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
We all do it.
We're going to be eco-friendly here.
Everyone does.
So it was actually very fortunate for me because because I got the SP, not the Advance, the original Advance.
Oh, so you got the Game Boy Advance SP?
Yes.
Okay, all right, got it. All right.
Which was very fortunate for me.
That was your first console?
Yeah.
Oof.
And I remember it because my mom bought it because it was on sale, since she was always keen on sales since she worked at Fred Meyer. So it was like $80 or $90, which is the price of a 2DS now, which is weird to think about.
Yeah. It's a good price for it.
And I got Yu-Gi-Oh! And I couldn't figure out how to play that game. I just couldn't do it. And so my mom, we went to Blockbuster. And if you guys don't know what Blockbuster is, it's a place where you'd go. This is weird sounding because I'm still young. Yeah. But it has ceased to exist. It's like a red box, but you actually go physically there inside this building and you can choose out your movies and you rent them for a little bit and then you return them. Or video games. You could do either or, whatever, and then there's snacks there.
Don't forget the snacks.
Yeah, don't forget the snacks.
You know, my mom always said, I would ask her, I'd be like, can we get the milk dud? No, they're $4.
Yeah.
We can go to the store and buy them for $1.
Yeah.
Actually, when my favorite time, it was like both a heartbreaking but nice time, was when they were like losing all their money because Redbox, Netflix, blah, blah, blah.
Blockbuster, I think, was the last one to go.
Yeah.
I believe it was.
Yeah, Hollywood Video
Hollywood Video was gone soon.
Yeah, before that. Rest in peace, Game Crazy.
I will always remember them. they had deals constantly where like rent 2 movies and you get a bucket popcorn, candy, blah 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 for free and whatever. Because they're trying to get people to keep coming in nowadays because it was so much more convenient just to stay home or go to Redbox because Redbox was like $1.
Yeah, and then as soon as Netflix kicked in, that was the nail in the coffin right there. But
yeah, so I went there and this just so happened to be before our trip or whatever, and I saw this game on the shelf or whatever, which is really weird. It wasn't like a rent game. It was like a buy game. And I don't know.
Like when they would sell their pre-owned. Yeah. They're old, we used to rent games.
And I didn't know like who sold this or like it was just sitting there for a while. But it was Star Wars for the Game Boy, like the original Game Boy. But because the Game Boy Advance SP was backwards compatible, which, by the way.
That? Backwards compatible.
I had no idea what backwards compatible is, but just because I saw a Game Boy on it,
and at the time we didn't think about it. It was just a thing that was in
I was just
consoles.
Like, Game Boy. I got a Game Boy. Shoot, I'll buy it. It's a weird like shape and whatever, but yeah, I'll get it. And I didn't understand I didn't understand any of that, so I got it, and because I love Star Wars. Star Wars is great. I played it, and it was a port of Star Wars for the NES. Yeah, it was
the side scroller where you start off in Hoth.
No, it was a side scroller. I believe the Hoth one is Super Star Wars. Yeah,
it's a Super.
So this one was just the regular NES one, and if you guys know who Angry Video Game Nerd is, he actually covered it in one of his episodes of Star Wars games, and. So I got stuck with these 2 games on my flight to
Kentucky.
No, not in Kentucky.
Good callback.
I don't remember.
To New York.
New York, that's right.
And so I think since I didn't know how to play the Yu-Gi-Oh game, that game was out the window. I was like, I am done with this game. I love Yu-Gi-Oh, but man, I don't. What do you even do? So I couldn't figure that out. And then so I was stuck with Star Wars. And oh my God, the AVGN episode covers it pretty well, that this game is hard. It is so hard for like a little 6-year-old Quinn or whatever to be playing this game. It was so hard. Like, okay, there's a part where you are supposed to like meet. Okay, it's kind of like Zelda in the beginning. So you play as Luke Skywalker. You got a blaster, and or you don't even have the blaster at first, I don't think. But you go into a random cave, and then in the random cave, you get the blaster or you meet Obi-Wan and he gives you blaster, sort of like Legend of Zelda, where the old man gives you the sword.
Oh, I remember that part in the movie.
Yeah. And he's like, Luke, use the Force or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And then so you're going through like a sand crawler or something, and then you're supposed to meet up with Han Solo, and you fly the Millennium Falcon. But if you go fly the Millennium Falcon, there's like a mini game where you have to shoot asteroids or whatever. But I didn't know this as a kid. The game doesn't tell you because it's a port of an NES game, and they very limited like dialogue and blah blah blah. So I just go in space, die, game over, and then you hear like Darth Vader breathing or something like that. I don't remember. And I was like, what the heck? And since either I didn't know how to save or this is just how the game worked, I would start at the beginning. So I'd have to go in the cave. I'd have to get a blaster. I'd have to do all this. And
you got really good at the game though at that point.
Yes. Well, at that point, but I didn't. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to get these shield things that are around this area in order to give it to the Millennium Falcon so that you have shields to withstand the asteroids. Then you can do it. But I didn't know that.
Kind of like Mass Effect.
Yeah.
And so, that was
that's your first.
That was my
memory?
experience. So I pretty much stopped playing my Game Boy Advance for the rest of the trip, and I just ended up hanging out in New York, which was fun.
Nice. I'm going to go over to this side. Back in your time.
Back in my time.
When wagons were being pulled by oxes.
All right. So my first experience with consoles was back in 1989. I want to say 89. It was 1989. I was 5 years old, and we were living in this little ski resort town at the base of a ski mountain. there's like 6 feet of snow outside. We couldn't really open up the door type of snow. Like I had a tree.
When you open up the door, it's the imprint of the door.
We shoveled it out, but like when you'd open the door, it's just snow.
Yeah.
The
Holy
walkway
cow.
out.
Yeah.
And like I even had a tree fort up in the tree that was like 20 feet up there. And I remember in the winters, I would just jump out of it and just poof, right on in. And that year we were there. The year that we were there, I got a Pittsburgh Steelers football uniform, helmet and everything, and we got the original NES. And I remember
Quite a combination of things. There.
I remember getting the uniform, right, and I was like, I was so excited. I remember putting it on, and then my neighbor across the street got a Dallas Cowboys uniform.
Oh wow!
And so like we met up.
Two teams that didn't make it.
Hey, this was back in the
day. Yeah.
And then so we went outside in like this 4 or 5 feet of snow. Just in these little uniforms with little pads and a shirt and shorts, like no snow clothes, no nothing, and we're just out there. We're not even playing football. We're just tackling each other.
There's no ball. They're just tackling each other for no reason.
Yeah, we're just tackling each other. And I didn't know that we had gotten the NES. Oh. I just saw my uniform and like lost my mind. Yeah. And
How old are you at this?
I think I was like 5. I was 5.
Okay. All right.
I was right. It was right before we moved back. We were in Idaho, and it was right before we moved back to Washington. And so I was 5. I was 5. I was 5. 4 at the earliest, but I was 5. I'm pretty sure I was 5.
Okay.
I walked in, and there's my brother playing Super Mario Brothers, and I'm like, helmet off, threw it over there, and I just sit next to it, and I'm like this. I'm like,
Yeah.
And it was we just had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and
the combo cartridge. Yeah.
And I don't think I ever beat it, ever. I don't think I've ever beaten the first Mario game, but I just remember doing all the warps as best as I could. And I remember, like, there are pictures of me sitting in front of the TV, like this close to the TV, in my Steelers outfit, pads and everything, no helmet, just like this, or like with the gun pressed up against the screen, because I was one of those little kids, you know.
Yeah, for Duck Hunt.
Yeah, and I actually kind of want to find those pictures now, because I'm sitting there in Steelers outfit, black top, yellow pants, and I'm just like, yeah. That was it for me. Like that whole thing just changed.
Awesome.
That changed my life.
That was pretty cool.
That was one of the most exciting things that I've ever had happen.
It's funny that you say you were like 5.
I was like
4 or 5, and then you
5.
said you were 6, because mine is probably 4 or 5. Is when I got my first console.
So
I
we
guess
were all
that
young
was,
and
yeah. But it's weird how we kind of rememred at the same time frame. Of
our
lives.
I don't remember much of anything else being that old. I remember preschool and kindergarten.
I don't think I went to preschool.
And I remember going to the local. It wasn't. We didn't have a Hollywood Video or a Blockbuster.
Really?
It was like
we had Joe's Shack over around the corner.
We lived literally in. It was a town basically set up to support the ski resort mountain. We lived at the base of, I believe.
It was like Sun Valley?
No. We lived at the base, I think, of Schweitzer Mountain in Idaho.
Yeah, Sun Valley's in Idaho.
And the local, movie game rental place was just this little place about the size of my apartment. Mm-hmm. And I remember going there and like renting like Excite Bike. And this was back like when I didn't even know like what these games were. I didn't know that like Excite Bike.
Yeah, there was no IGN.
Yeah, like I didn't know like any of these games were like any good or anything like that. But I remember
cool box art.
No, yeah, like I remember renting all of these games that were just so bad. Like I remember renting like this one where it's like the space shuttle and you're supposed to like fly it off into space, but like I never could. It would always explode, and I couldn't figure it out. And I remember playing like Zelda and just getting lost, and I still don't know where to go in the first Zelda.
It's anything. Do anything you want.
And I finally, with the NES Classic, I finally found where the first dungeon is.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Progress. 30 years later,
it's dangerous out there. Take this.
Yeah, no, I find it. Oh, you go up and there's a tree on the island. That's the first one. Sweet.
Yeah, there you go.
30 years later, I actually made progress.
There you
go. But yeah, it was exciting. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it other than it was awesome. I remember just Excite Bike. That's all I wanted to rent. Was just Excite Bike.
Excite Bike is on the
That
game.
is a fun game.
I know. I've played it.
Yeah, my first experience was around 4 or 5. I got the Game Boy Color was my first game console that I had. I had Pokemon Yellow, and I had no idea why my parents decided to buy me Pokemon stuff, but this was the start of a beautiful friendship at this point. I remember a specific event where when I was living in Idaho, we had a 2-story house in Nampa, and so I remember being in our spare bedroom, and I was like you know how how a teenage girl lays down reading a magazine?
Yeah, with your legs up, kicking behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I like that was the position I was in playing Pokemon Yellow, and I named my character Ash because the show had just started. And so
you were going meta from the start.
Yeah, and because Pokemon Yellow, you start with Pikachu.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is Ash. This is who this is. This is how all Pokemon games are. They're supposed to be like the whole entire show.
Yeah.
So
I am not afraid to admit that the very first time I played The Legend of Zelda, I named Link Zelda.
Oh man.
Comment
section below, right down here.
Actually, there's quite a bit of Zelda games where you get secrets for naming your character Zelda.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in Zelda. What was the one for the CD? You do play as Zelda.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's the Faces
The
of
Phillips one or
the
whatever?
Faces of Evil and the Wand of Gamelon, and then there's a third one, and those are all bad games.
But you do play as Zelda.
But you do play as
so
Zelda
there you go.
in 2 out of the 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, when you're saying you were naming your character's actual name, that reminded me.
Yeah.
Growing up, I never called Link until Ocarina of Time.
Well, they don't tell you that his name's that.
No, I had no idea. A 5-year-old.
That's a meta thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember playing Pokemon Yellow and going over to my next door neighbor's house, and we would trade Pokemon. We had the link cables, which were these cables that you would connect to the Game Boy Color, and to connect to the Game Boy Color, you can also connect it to the Game Boy Advance, which I had as well. And I remember going to my my babysitter's house, and she had kids too, so I would hang out with them, and he had a Game Boy, and so I looked at his Game Boy and I looked at my Game Boy Color, and I'm like, what the heck are these? These are two totally different things. They played the games, they played them fine. There's just one was in black and white, one was in color, but that was, you would see this big Duke of a console.
Oh, so he had the original.
A Game Boy, and I had the Game Boy Color.
That's what my brother had growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the old gray brick that's like that.
I had the Game Boy Color. I had it in purple, and I had the Wormlight with it. The Wormlight, the Game Boy Color didn't have a built-in backlight, so you had to buy this accessory that would attach to the side of it. And it would take up about a quarter of your screen because it was lighting up. So I even remember when we were driving on the freeway, and you'd go underneath tunnels, and you'd just have to. I'd be playing, and all of a sudden tunnels coming up. I'm like, oh. It's all dark. All right, we're out of the tunnel. Okay, I can play again because now I can see. There was these elements of the Game Boy Color that you don't obviously have now, which is a good thing in some ways. But yeah, I remember playing that, and I remember my dad would beat Pokemon Yellow so I could have all the Pokemon, and I'd have them all at a good level.
God.
But then I would take it and I would restart and play again because I was like, no, you ruined it, and then I'd play it again, and then he would go and beat it again. But my first console was the N64, which I got around the same time. I got the Pikachu edition bundle that had Pokemon Stadium and Hey You. I think it had both. I think it had Hey You Pikachu and Pokemon Stadium with the Pikachu edition Nintendo 64, which I still have to this day. I still have my Game Boy too. But it's crazy how I've asked them why did you buy this console? Just out of curiosity of why you chose this one and not the the console that everyone else got.
The standard one.
Yeah. They just felt like I was watching the show and I liked it and they bought it. And I was like, that's why those people are awesome.
I think it was a show that had like good games tied to it. Not like you weren't watching I don't know a bad show right now from the 90s off the time. Like if you were watching like,
hey, those CartoonNetwork.com games were awesome. So, like, do you remember those games?
Yeah.
I actually played them a lot as a kid.
All those Flash games. Yeah. But yeah, it was different time. Games are not the way they are now.
Actually, it's funny when you talked about the link cable thing. My first experience with the link cable, because the Game Boy Advance, I don't think any of the Game Boys came with the link cable. You had to buy it on your own.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't like, I didn't comprehend as a kid, because all the time when I played consoles, I always envisioned handhelds as actual console, like a portable console.
Oh yeah, I consider it a Game Boy console.
But so to me, I was so used to when I'd go to my friends, my downstairs neighbors, when I lived in apartments at a different apartment. He had like the SNES, he had the Saturn, he had the GameCube, all these other consoles that I didn't have, because he normally just got them from like garage sales, so they're really cheap. So I was just used to plugging in my controller and we'd play together. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Game Boy, I didn't understand, like, well, how do you do this? So my thing was like, I went to one of my friend's house and he had 2 Game Boy Colors, I believe, and he had I had yellow version and he had red or blue or something. Mm-hmm. And they still can connect because it's like emerald.
Yeah, those 3 can connect.
Whatever. And so I was like, my impression was I didn't understand how you connected. So I thought as soon as you like connect cables, right, that you would be transported to each other's worlds. So as I would walk around, he would be in my game too. Yeah, so I was like, I'll meet you in Pewter City. We'll meet
you were way ahead of time on that one.
That's just how I imagined things as a kid.
Not how it worked.
And I was like, are you here? And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay, go to the museum. Let's go to the museum. I'll meet you there. So we go to the museum, and every time.
So how long did it take for you to figure out that you had to go to the Pokemon Center to actually do something?
Till Sapphire version.
Okay, so like 4 generations later.
It was well, because I didn't have much time to figure out, and then it was bedtime, so like, okay, I gave up, and so I didn't get able to link cable until this one kid moved in my apartment complex, and he had Emerald version, and I was like, they made more Pokemon games? Like, I had no idea. So I asked my mom that day, I was like, can we go to Game Crazy? And we drove there, and I was trying to look for Emerald version, but Emerald version wasn't there, and so I wanted Ruby because red's my favorite color, but I got Sapphire, which I like Kyogre. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got Sapphire. I usually pick the bluer ones.
And so I came back and I was like, I don't know if this will work, but let's connect. And we connected, and I was like, but where do we go? And he's like, oh, you go to the Pokemon Center?
Oh, you knew what was up.
But he also, he had the regular link cables, and then he had, for the Game Boy Advance, the wireless ones, too.
Oh, I had that, too, but no one I knew ever had the other one. Well, you didn't get a double pack.
I didn't even know they made the wireless ones. And actually, in fact, on the first, sort of releases of Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald, they came with them as a bonus.
That was how I got mine.
But I went for my birthday to get Emerald version or Leaf Green or Fire Red, and I was like, do you guys have the wireless things? And they're like, oh no, you try across the street. And then we tried, and no, I couldn't find it anywhere. I assume at that time it was just because it was old, because whenever I had consoles or anything, they were very old at the time. I didn't get by the time I was playing Sapphire or doing any of these things, I think the DS had been out for a while, and then it was almost Pokemon Pearl and Diamond were almost out at the same time. Yeah. So no one was playing that game, and so it was just the times.
Yes, video games date back even before us. So
before these two and myself. But yeah.
Let's move on to our last topic of the show. The most emotional, most impactful. How would we title this one? Most impactful game.
Most.
I think impactful.
What games have given you the most feels?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
feels.
The feels.
This one is also your topic.
Yep.
So you want to
Start off on this one.
well,
as well?
like kind of talk. Yeah, I guess kind of intro it or some sort.
Okay, so I came up with this idea because I think, like, I guess for people who don't play video games or whatever, you guys who are clicking on your phones with your silly little kid app games. No offense to people who play app games. But I think over time, I think ever since maybe probably SNES, to be honest, games, even NES, but I think games have been able to draw more and more complex emotions. And also they're becoming more and more cinematic just with the more technology we get.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But I still do think in terms of cinematic games and blah, 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 the point of a game is to play it too.
Yeah.
It helps to have a good story, but at the end of the day, I don't always want to feel like I'm playing a movie.
Yeah.
But there are times where the interaction comes in with choices. That's what I like, if it's going to be super cinematic or something like that. I remember throughout my history of playing video games, there's always been times where a video game has like touched me, or just emotionally, right? And just left an impact where I was just sitting there like, wow, that's pretty great, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just sometimes it doesn't have to be that far. It's just like it's in my head and I'm just thinking like mechanically about games or game design or something, and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Even back then when I didn't understand like mechanics or game design, I would just be like, well, I like it when that thing blows up. That's cool.
I gotta get those shield things for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'll talk about my negative experience with video games, something that had me raging.
Okay.
So, as a kid, for whatever reason, I always got stuck. I want to say I'm the best at video games, but as a kid, I always
You don't want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I always got stuck with these very difficult games for whatever reason. Like later on, fast forward a couple years or maybe a month or a few months later, the only reason I figured out how to play the Yu-Gi-Oh game, right, is because I was playing Hot Wheels with my friend in the grass, right? And we were just racing the cars on the track or whatever. And I feel like I hear a buzzing and I feel something land on my face and it flies away, right? And my mom comes outside and she's like, what happened to you? And I was like, what's up? And like at the time, I was like this. And my eyes and my cheeks were like, and she was like, what happened to you? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, come in here right now and look in the mirror. And I go inside and look in the mirror. I was like, oh. And she was like, what happened? I was like, oh, I think a bee stung me. And she was like, we're going to go to we're going to Fred Meyer's. We're getting you ice right now. We're going to blah, blah, blah. And so luckily it was in summer, or I didn't even have school yet at the time or whatever. And it took like, I want to say a day or two. So that whole time I was like, what can I do? And it was hard for me to see. Like, it was really hard for me to see. So I couldn't play any of the games I was playing because they took a lot of skills. So I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since it was turn-based.
Yeah, you didn't have to do very much.
And while I was doing it, I had the revelation of how to play that game.
A vision came to you.
And I was like, this is how you attack, because I didn't understand how to attack or go through the turns and like the phases in battle. And so I had that revelation. But I always got stuck with really difficult games. So I got stuck with the Star Wars game. And then shortly after getting my Game Boy Advance, I was with my stepdad, because I would swap with my mom's stepdad to hang out with them every once in a while. And my stepdad lived with my uncle as well. So it was really cool because they were both brothers and they were both really cool. Like, my uncle really liked Transformers and he got me into that. But my stepdad saw that my Game Boy Advance. He's like, oh, all right, we're getting you some games. And I was like, all right, cool. And he was like, obviously had a lot of gaming experience. So he chose the games for me first. He chose Super Mario Bros. 3 and Donkey Kong Country 2 for the Game Boy Advance.
Not bad.
And I was like, okay, cool. So I was playing them and I enjoyed them. I enjoyed Donkey Kong Country 2 more so than Super Mario Bros. 3.
Was it just a port of actual? Like,
yeah, it was just the port of the games.
Oh, because I liked those.
And they were good games.
I like those games.
Even though I think the Donkey Kong Country 2 game was pretty hard, but
it is later on. Yeah, I will agree with that.
Because I got pretty far in that game, but it was pretty difficult. But so as a kid, I really liked Zelda, and the Zelda game I played a lot. So I had only played console Zelda games at this point in time because my friend had an SNES, my other friend had a N64, and so most of the games I had played were just random console Zelda games, like the original Zelda, and then like a little bit of Link to the Past, and then Ocarina of Time a lot. Like I would go over to my friends every day to beat that game, and I loved that game as a kid.
Oh, you were one of those kids that would go over and beat the game for their friends.
Yeah, well, because I didn't have any of this stuff, and they were like, well, do you want to play it? And I was like, yeah. Just straight up, yeah.
Done.
And so I go into Game Crazy one day, and I'm with my mom, and I see this sign, and it's like Zelda. And this was when they were doing the like NES throwback collection for the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
So they had the special NES Game Boy Advance SP, and then they had like Metroid, Super Mario Bros, like the originals. But I didn't understand. Like what throwbacks or repackaging. Like I didn't understand that Super Mario Bros. 3 was just a port, because everything was new to me as a kid. And so we go in, and I thought this was a new Zelda game, and I was like, and I had just got done playing Ocarina of Time, so I was like, I can play Zelda and I didn't understand graphical limitation. I thought these were all stylistic choices for the handheld, and because like I didn't consider Game Boy and then Game Boy Advance games to be like, I didn't consider Game Boy to be inferior to Game Boy Advance. I was just like, oh well, this one just doesn't have color. This one does. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I need this game, and she was like, well, what are you gonna do for me? I was like, I don't know. I'll be really good. Like, I'll do this, please. I really like Zelda. And she was like, fine, we'll get it. And so I got the Zelda game. Oh my gosh. So the Zelda game was Zelda 2.
The side scroller?
The Adventure of Link. Yeah, the side scroller. So I don't think it's a bad game. It's like, it's the second Zelda game, so they were just trying something new, but oh my gosh, do I have a history with that game? I hate that game. I hate that game so much because, first of all, you gotta level up. There's experience in the game to build stats for your character. It's like takes an RPG appeal, and it's side-scrolling, which, like, I didn't hate side-scrollers as a kid. I was just like, this is not Zelda. And there's random battle encounters, and the game is hard. It is so hard. Like, it's pretty open. Like, you can do a lot of exploration even without being the first dungeon or whatever, but it was unbelievably hard, and every time I would die, I'd have to get taunted by Ganon as like been resurrected with your blood. You lose, and then I was like, well, great. What do I do? So I have to restart every single time, and you always restart at the Hyrule castles where Zelda is sleeping every single time, and I was so mad at that game. I hated that game. Ugh. Okay.
There's a burning passion for it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's my negative emotions from video games, because it was very frustrating, and they did not hold your hand back.
No, they don't. That's why when people come in and ask for the NES Classic, and it's like, who are you buying this for? Well, I plan on buying it for my kids.
Yeah,
no,
my kid. Like,
don't buy it for your kids. That console is not designed for that. It is designed for the people that played those games beforehand and want to play them again, because those games are freaking hard. I put in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Boop. Go. It's like,
where do you go?
Where do I go to the castle? Like, I go into the castle. Everyone's all frantic. You talk to the king. My daughter was taken and blah. Find this, and you're like,
okay. So where's
my objective list? It doesn't exist. Yeah. Anyway. Moving on to yours, do you have a good? what are things that give you feelings of such as good or anger?
So the only game I can really think of. So there's a lot of moments. I would say there's a lot of moments. The only game though that I can think of where I really had like this emotional connection to it, like strong emotional connection to it, was the very first time, and keyword is first playthrough of Journey.
A lot of people love Journey.
The very first time I played through Journey, like I had it pre-ordered, pre-downloaded. I was waiting for it to unlock. Unlocked, played through it, and the music, the graphics, the play style. I can't even describe like the feeling that I had like playing it, and like the
it's
sense
so
of,
weird.
Of
a lot of people
had.
have the same feeling of like.
Have you played it?
I think I own it, but I've never played it.
Oh, dude, you need to play it. You need to put on. Okay, so you need to put on like a good pair of headphones, like a good quality pair of headphones, because the soundtrack is phenomenal. And I always tell people you start it and you just go and you just experience it. It only lasts a couple hours.
Aren't these the same guys that made like Flower and stuff? Okay,
yeah.
Is
it not that game company? I don't
something
remember,
like that.
But yeah, I'm the very first time I played it, and the whole like multiplayer aspect of it was unique. I thought at the time it was unique, where like it wasn't like a lobby system. People would just, if there's somebody nearby, like one person that just happened to be nearby, they would just phase in, and you wouldn't know. Like I would remember the first time I saw somebody. I was in this big. If you play the game, there's this part where there's this big open area, and you have to create like this carpet bridge that kind of goes across. And I remember just working on this bridge, and then all of a sudden I see somebody just like standing there, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
and you can't talk to them. You can ping.
Yeah,
that's all you can do. And I'm like, hello, just ping, 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 hi. And we literally, me and that guy or girl, I think it was a guy, because we went through it. We went through the whole game from that point on together, and it was just this random person. And I wish I remember their name. I haven't been on my PlayStation account in a while. We became friends. Like after the game ended, and we went through the part. I don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
Because you guys haven't played, I really think you should.
I think that's one of those games that you can't spoil.
Like, yeah, like I don't want to spoil it for the end, because the ending is fantastic. It really is. Like when we were climbing, If you're watching and you play the moment where you are climbing, that's all I'll say. It gets you. It really gets you.
Wow.
Yeah, it turns out, because I've played through it multiple times. I got the white cloak that you can get, and because the white cloak you get it if you get all the collectibles in it, and it gives you like unlimited charge, or it recharges on itself, and because you get like power to like float and fly, and it doesn't recharge on its own, but if you get the white cloak, it does. Yeah, the soundtrack, the one thing that I get that always sticks, that I would always get like the biggest goosebumps for, is when you're playing down. And if you're playing, I'll describe the scene for you, and you will know it when it happens. It's like you're going down, and it's normally the game's in third person, but as you're going down, you take this left, and then the camera pans to the side, and your character's like this big going across the screen, and you just see the background and the music and the colors, and it's so good, and you're not even really doing anything. You're just going across I every time that part is coming up, I just get so excited for it, because you're just going down, you're avoiding these obstacles, and all of a sudden cut sideways to this just epic shot with this epic score in the background, and you're just going on, and I'm just like, yeah. Like, yeah. It's and the atmosphere that game builds. Like, there's my favorite part in the whole game is actually I believe it's right after that, or it's near that. It builds this atmosphere where you feel like you're underwater, but you're not. And I don't see, you make that face.
You personally feel like that?
The atmosphere makes you feel like you're underwater. But you're not. You're just in a cave. And like I said, if you've played it, you'll probably be like, yeah, it does.
We might have to play it on the channel then.
You really should. It's a short game. If you just burn through it. If you just burn through it, you can go burn through it in about an hour or two. But it does have no words, No tutorials. Well, there's kind of tutorials in the beginning. It just tells you, hey, this is how you jump. This is how you move. Go. You know. But that game will always stick in my mind as for a game in itself as a whole will always be one of my most favorite experiences ever. I even had my girlfriend Rebecca play it once. I was like, here, play it.
Yeah, a lot of people that I hear that play it have such an emotional attachment to that game that that they, they'll tear up at it, or they'll feel this weight of something that when they play this game, which is crazy, because like the way that a game can make it, especially a game that has no words that can build into that. Like my favorite experience of that, not really going into the rage side, but into the which I do have a few rage games, but I don't know if I'll have time for it. But the Walking Dead first series of the first season of The Walking Dead was by far something I've never experienced in a game, where I'm so emotionally attached to a character where you play as Lee, and we're playing it on the channel, so I'm trying to be a little vague on a lot of stuff. But as you play as Lee, who's this guy that has now been pretty much he was arrested for killing his wife's lover. So he found them in the act. He killed both of them, and he was arrested. This is a guy that came from being a college teacher to now being, who he is now. During that time frame, a car accident happens, and he gets pretty much a second chance to escape out of this. But as that second chance, he gets to experience the dead. And during that time, he finds really early on, he climbs over a fence to get away from the walkers, and he realizes and finds a little girl named Clementine. And with Clementine, I'd never been so emotionally drawn to a character where I'm going to protect this person at all costs, no matter what happens. And the game doesn't tell you to do that. You can treat her however you want. Yeah. But the game puts in a way that Clementine is now your responsibility. She has no mother and father around. Her babysitter that was taking care of her, you just beat in the head with a hammer. And she was hiding in her treehouse. So now she's your responsibility that Lee has taken on. And you go through this whole series with her being there. And then the way that the season 1 ends, I had never actually shed tears in a video game until the end of The Walking Dead season 1. It was so I can't believe this is happening, and I can't believe this is what has led up to this whole thing. I remember downloading it, and I think we've said it in the last episode of Bitcade, was in episode 1, where I said I had gotten the game, the first 2 episodes for free because Xbox had given away for it.
I have them. I remember that. I played it too.
And as I beat those, I was like, I need to buy them, and I bought all 5 of them. I even got Christian to play them, and as I was going through it, I got him hooked into it, and we were talking about it. And this game was totally based on your decisions, and the game can change whether you choose to do things or not. And the game is never the same as obviously you play it. It's kind of like Mass Effect, where the game is never going to be the same exact thing as you played the first time.
Yeah, but the end goal is kind of.
But yeah, the end goal happens no matter what. It's just the choices that lead up to it. And I felt so driven by this game that it got me into these. I want a story. These are the games I love. I like to be emotionally attached to these characters. That's why I fell in love with Mass Effect right away. That's why I tend to draw towards the Telltale games, because there is that sense of attaching to these characters that you sometimes wouldn't be able to. I'm not knocking games like The Last of Us or Uncharted or Rise of the Tomb Raider, but those characters are who they are, and you're just going to experience it.
Right.
But when games give you the option to be a part of that series, and you are now a character, you're now Lee Everett, you're going through this, do you take that box of food to feed the rest of the crew and give the sweatshirt to Clementine, or do you listen to Clementine that has said, we're stealing stuff? What are you doing? What are you gonna do? You gonna show her that stealing stuff isn't wrong?
Yeah.
You know, these are the choices that you get to pick, and with the end result of it, I felt very attached to it, and I don't think I had ever experienced anything like how The Walking Dead ended. I'm sure there were games like that before, but there were
for you.
But when I experienced The Walking Dead, that was definitely something special. That's why I've always fell in love with Telltale, and I own every Telltale game now. I actually, in the last Bitcade episode, I said I was playing Batman and Minecraft. I have beaten those games now.
Yeah.
And
how was Batman? I'm curious.
Batman was okay. I think there were a few things that could have been worked on. I think it was very good on setting up like a season 2.
Oh, okay.
So like I want like a season 2 of it. Minecraft was really long. There's 8 episodes of Minecraft, which is the longest. I think the longest one of them all.
That's because it's Minecraft, and they can be like, oh, we can sell this to all of the kids.
Yeah, and the way that it ends is kind of on a note where they are not going to make another one, which I was fine with. Like if they don't make a Minecraft season 2, which I don't think you can, because the way that Minecraft ends is like Minecraft 1 through 4, I think, are the same story, and then 4 ends on a note where it's closed, like you can just stop playing, and then 5 through 8 are like
its own thing.
Like they have their same story, but they sort of connect there. But in no way do they talk about like the other times, other than leading up to where the situation you're in. But anyway, yeah, like a few rage games was Casper for PlayStation 2. They inverted there was the first controller I've ever played that was inverted, and they flipped it. So like moving forward was your right stick, and then moving up and down the camera was your left stick. If you're saying, "Oh, I could do that," no, it is so difficult. I get it, and it was inverted.
Yeah, that reminds me back with on like the N64 with games like Rainbow Six on the Nintendo 64. And on like the first Rainbow Six game was on the Nintendo 64, and Jet Force Gemini on the Nintendo 64, you used the C pad, C up to move forward, C down, and basically the C buttons you worked as your left analog stick does now.
Oh, jeez.
And then the analog stick on there worked as your right analog stick to aim.
Wow. And then
just side note, I remember that's what that reminded me of. I played the crap out of those games.
The other game, since topical, Lemony Snicket: A Series of Unfortunate Events for the PlayStation 2. I could not pass one part in the game where you have to play a piano, and it's all it is just boop, like up, hit down, hit triangle. I had never experienced that in my life. This is before Guitar Hero. This is before anything is. I had to have my friend. No, I didn't have Parappa the Rapper. But then my friend had to come over, beat that part for me to complete the game. And every time, like he did it for me twice. I actually had him come over specifically to beat that part for me. And then eventually I did it myself. Yeah, then the most rage quit thing I'd ever done was Ghosts and Goblins. I had it for the Game Boy. I had a Game Boy Advance port of it. I put that thing into my old DS, the first DS that had ever come out. The big Duke thing that looked like it was poorly designed. It was very bad, but it was all we had. But it was already hanging on a hinge.
Oh, God.
Because everyone had the problem with the DS actually being connected at one point. I'd never seen a DS fully, like in a full package, like after the launch. It was very rare. But I was playing it on my bunk bed, and I died for like the 400th time, because if you die in that game, you start all the way back over. Doesn't mean if you could make it all the way to the second to last level, you're starting all the way over. And I got so mad, and I went, "Son of a," and I cracked it in half, and I was like, and I lied. I lied about it. I said it fell off my bunk bed and it broke. And I didn't do it. I was like, I don't know what happened. I think it fell off the bunk bed and it cracked, and I couldn't do anything about it. And then the one thing I did eventually tell the truth was when my dad was talking to me on the phone, and he goes, "Well, at least you told the truth." And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, yeah. All right, so here's the story. I was playing Ghosts and Goblins, and then I told the whole thing. Eventually, I got a DS Lite, and now I have a 3DS. I have 2 of them now. But
yeah, so I now can remember two, because when we were talking before, I couldn't remember any rage-inducing things that I have gone through, but I can think of 2 instances.
All right,
now.
give it to me very quickly. Wrapping them off.
All right, so to wrap it up, I remember for my brother and myself on the Super Nintendo was Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Oh, Battletoads.
Battletoads
Coming
Double
to an Xbox near you.
and Double Dragon.
Oh, so it's the Battletoads and Double Dragon.
Yes,
game.
Battletoads
Okay.
Double Dragon.
Yeah.
game.
There's a combo.
Yeah, there's a
pack?
combo.
Yeah.
It's actually really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, no.
Are they like
It's really good.
shared universes?
I mean, I guess so now because of that game.
But no, that was actually a really fun game until the classic Battletoads little speeder bike levels, because that's in there.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And when we would always play it co-op. Now, the problem is in order to beat that, we wouldn't. If one of us couldn't beat it, we would start over. Because
Why would you do that to yourself?
Because if one of you loses all your lives and one of you passes, then you're by yourself for the rest of the game.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's right.
So we would go through it over and over and over again until finally we both would pass it. Because it's just muscle memory. It's literally all it is muscle memory. And you mess up once or a couple times, and it's like, cause first getting there is hard. Because before the speeder bikes is this tunnel that
isn't
down.
that game on the Rare Replay? No, it's not this one.
No.
Isn't Battletoads on Rare?
Battletoads not Battletoads Double Dragon. Battletoads Double Dragon is a one game.
Yeah, it's a
I
crossover,
thought it was.
Yeah, it's
you
a
can
crossover.
play as the Battletoads or you can play as
The Double Dragon guys. I don't remember
really?
their names.
That's
Yeah.
Jimmy and
Yeah, it's something
something
cliche like that.
Jimmy.
Yeah, and so, but before the worst part about it is before the little speeder bike level is you would have to go down this tunnel on the little ropes where you'd have to kick and swing by, and those were where we would lose all of our lives because those were just as hard as the speeder bike because it's just that whole chunk. I don't know if we ever actually beat the game.
Huh.
And then the other one that I had was I forgot. Cow Ren? Dynasty Warriors. PS2. Dynasty Warriors 2. I don't remember the character. I think his name is Cow Ren.
Kylo Ren?
No.
He has an attitude problem. So.
If you've played it, it's the guy who has the shield with the sword in it that he can pull out and do things with. Getting his final weapon was the most frustrating thing because I played the crap. I maxed out all the characters. I got everybody's final weapons in that game except his because I couldn't do it because you had to go in, you had to destroy all of the siege weapons and all this within 3 or so minutes, this ridiculous time frame that even with the fastest horse, max stats, best weapon that you can get up to that point, you just couldn't do it. And I remember just getting so mad because he was literally the last character that I had in the whole game. There's 60 characters or something like that to pick from.
Good grief.
Oh, I played the crap out of that game. That was my game. But yeah, that for
was
me
your game.
that was my game back then. But that was I think the only time I physically slammed my controller. This is the only time I could ever
Full on rage quit mode.
Yeah, just
boom.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a real bad attitude problem when I played games back in the day. Was for some reason now I'm kind of over it. But I used to. I mean, I broke a console for it. So
yeah,
there you go.
And that's not including the frustration over other players and MMOs. I count that. That's totally different. Yeah. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wrap things up. As it has been a long one. Before we go, are you playing anything? Overwatch. I know you've been playing a lot of Overwatch.
I have. I got to play just a day ago or 2 days ago.
Didn't you say you played 29 hours in the last 2 days?
Yes, I stayed up all day one day going.
You're wearing a jacket today.
Yes, to commemorate the
the loss of time that you had.
I went all the way from low gold to low plat because that's how it works, and then now I'm trying to get to diamond, and I've been taking a break because I was burning myself because I stayed up so late, just playing. This was solo queue, by the way. You can do it.
Yeah. I finally just did my placement games. I didn't want to play competitive.
Yeah, you did
but
last
then
night, right?
I did.
I guess now a month ago.
I did.
You
Yeah,
did a month ago at this point.
I did 4 of them 2 days ago, and then the last 6 yesterday.
Is that the only game you're playing? Is Overwatch as well?
Pretty much.
Play a little Steep, haven't you?
I've been playing a little Steep still.
Yeah.
But that's what I was playing last time we did this too. So, and I got back into Diablo. I don't know if I was still playing that, but no, yeah, I got back into Diablo.
Nice. I am playing. I actually picked up way too many games. I've already ruining myself this year, but I have Steep as well because I got it free when I bought Watch Dogs 2. But I'm gonna try to get through at least a couple levels of Steep, and then we're gonna make some content for that.
We're gonna try and do some cooperative stuff. We'll try.
Hopefully that has happened by this point, but we'll figure it out.
We'll try and figure that out. Yeah. And then at least figure out some way to make it more entertaining. Because we'll figure it out, and hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go and follow us on SoundCloud. We are soundcloud.com/Primal Target. Over there, you can subscribe to us, and you can download this podcast to your mobile device at any time. It's right there free. It's for Android and for Apple. There's no discrimination towards that. You can also subscribe to us right here on YouTube. You already are here if you're watching the video portion of it. If you're listening to audio, just search Primal Target. It's a logo that is a P and a T that look like a joystick. It's perfectly designed right there in paint. And if you want to go ahead and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Primal Target is where you can find us on Facebook. Twitter, we are Primal_Target because the person that has Primal Target won't give it to us. And we are also on Instagram. No pictures, but you can follow us there anyway. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ryan Eatmore. This was David. This was Quinn. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Were you going to say your name?
I thought I was going to, but that's all right. That's okay.
Say it. Just say it now.
No.